Greetings, whoever is watching. This video is just kind of showing my first steps in Houdini, which is this 3D software, which I would regard as the most advanced or one where you have the most control because of its procedural workflow. And the last video that was similar to this was me showing some stuff that I did in Blender geometry nodes. And I hit a bit of a ceiling in that workflow using Blender because I felt like Blender was trying to do something which it wasn't really built for from the beginning. And I mean, like, in the way that you can manipulate geometry, they've built sort of like a workaround in geometry nodes, workaround like roundabout sort of way of accomplishing things, whereas in Houdini I feel that it's much more straightforward and that the workflow was built with maximum procedural control in mind. So I don't know if that really means much to anyone, especially if you're not familiar with like procedural modeling workflows, but I've been getting kind of into this for the past month, learning basically from nothing on how to build stuff in Houdini, using its entire node-based workflow. Although I have to say the first months of this year, basically first half of this year, I spent like largely messing around in Blender. And I think if not for that, I wouldn't have been able to pick up some of the key concepts and core workflow things that you see here in Houdini. And hopefully, if I can master this, this whole thing, it's a big ask to master such a incredible tool that has so many, like, built over the last 2 decades or whatever, this sort of workflow. But at least I will get to a point where I feel I can not be distracted or have to spend time learning how to do things, and I can just start making cool things. That would be really cool. It's just the learning curve is pretty huge. But for example, I built this shrine-looking thing, inspired by this actual structure I found in. Here, let me just go minimize the spreadsheet here. So, this sort of. If we go to the non-destroyed view, this structure right here, I saw on the side of the road in Kazakhstan when I visited a month ago, and I thought it was really cool looking, and just recently I modeled it in kind of in a procedural way. You can see the heights changing as I scrub across the timeline. And then today I've figured out how to do some sort of destruction simulation on it. So one pillar at a time, it explodes, the pieces freeze in midair, all at different times. And I feel like this would have been quite difficult to do if I tried to do this in Blender, although I can't say I've tried, but this was, I think, as intuitive as it could be to do such a thing. Here's another one where all pillars completely fall due to gravity, or in reverse rather, but kind of ping-ponging like that. And yeah, I think this is like the first example of something that I made here in Houdini that looks solid enough. I haven't figured out actually how to render and shade things, but I'm only just learning, so this is the sort of beginning, let's say. I don't know if it's interesting or worth it to show like how this thing was constructed from the beginning, but you know, you start with the grid and then I kind of make the base, and of course I have a circle and I make the points, basically I copy the base to the points of the circle, and then I make a sort of height attribute, and then I extrude them and they have varying heights. So there's an attribute I made that's literally called height. This is a bit of a cluttered interface. I don't actually work on this monitor. I'm only doing this so you can see a bit better. But there's a height attribute. That's what's manipulating the height. And if I just like go to this node right here, and we look at, actually I don't need to do this, but this is another view, let's say, in Houdini. I don't need to go in here to change things because I promoted some parameters. So I can, let me just real quick make the auto update here. I can change the height like so. Here, the amplitude of the wave, which is modifying the height. And some other modifications to kind of make it, so you have this sort of slanted shape on the top, and then make a sort of little roof thing, and each small change you see is done by one node, really. Here I made the holes by making a sort of tube like this, or cylinder, and then copying those to the points, and then raising them up to the correct heights from the same attribute, then using like a mesh boolean to make the holes there. And the cool thing is that these holes still stay in place with the height change, so that's cool. And I made the obelisk too, which is very similar, just extruding multiple times. And then I made the stairs, which is also quite simple, and just doing a sort of repeat thingy to make the stairs. I could actually just change this value, and you'll see that the stairs do change in height like this. So that's a glimpse into the procedural workflow, let's say. And then I had to make some strange like groupings. It was a bit difficult because I don't know that much about coding. I mean, it's all relative, I guess. I know more than some or most, but anyways, yeah, had to do what's called fracturing the pillars. Oh, it's trying to load. There we go. So you can see there's these lines. Those are the break points where it will kind of collapse into pieces. And I made some more groups with that as well, and then had to configure each pillar group, let's say, with the only thing I changed really between them was the timing at which they would destroy themselves. So like, again, you look at this one at a time, they are breaking apart. And that was done using the RBD bullet solver, which is just like a rigid body simulation thingy. If it will open, I'm not sure why it's taking a while to load. I actually know why now, because I was changing some stuff about the height. Now I have lost. Oh, look at that. I've made every node freak out because I escaped the cooking, let's say, that's what it's called. But if I just disable this or delete the channel and make it 3.5, because that's what the simulations were running on, then we just go back to here It's gonna take a moment to cook, I guess. Yeah, but going into here, we can see I added a solver and did some more things with like the point velocity, and had to do some weird stuff with trying to offset the velocity times and make them slow down, and like, cause yeah, I'm quickly losing my ability to explain things. But yeah, I think could also be interesting to show that I've made my own digital assets, a few of them, just to kind of learn. So like, I think the good starting point for me was, let me go ahead and, oh, hello. Why is that a thing? I'm gonna allow editing of contents. This polyhedra node, which looks like a platonic solid node, I made myself, and you can see what I was showing in the last video with Blender, with like the platonic, Archimedean, Catalan solids I was making from scratch. I did the same exact thing here in Houdini, and this time much faster, because I already knew what I needed to do with like the geometry operations, and the nodes were actually much more compact and simpler to follow. So yeah, I don't know if it's like worth showing too much about that, but you know, like, if this will cook. Here we go. The let's go with the dodecahedron. Ridiculous names, but this shape right here, max edge length, or two different size modes, and very useful one called uniform scale I made, which you can do with the transform node, but this one gives a bit of like some statistics that I needed in order to do the operations to turn shapes into other shapes. So if I turn on statistics, I can see the max edge length, minimum edge length, the radius, the in-sphere radius, mid-sphere, out-sphere. I guess those are only really relevant to meshes like these, but yeah. Looking at these node structures, they look really intimidating, but I've been spending months kind of figuring out how to do these low-level geometry operations, and the thing with the procedural workflow and like software like this is that you build something once, or you like spend time making this sort of perfect node, which will be multifunctional and can apply in different situations, and then you never have to build it again. And you can use it in all sorts of applications and projects, and you know exactly how you've done these things, and you don't have to spend time debugging why something doesn't work later, because well, if you would have built something correctly, then it shouldn't be that hard to figure out. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else is interesting to show. I haven't made that much progress, admittedly, other than learning how to use this incredibly hard software, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe there will be more cool things which come out of this endeavor into 3D and procedural VFX stuff. So yeah, this is my first baby steps in Houdini, so I hope that some of you found it interesting, and yeah, peace.